What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about the latest video from Warren about Lucid. He talks on the $8 billion shelf offering, which I know that topic's been beaten to death, but still, he does bring that up, but he talks on a certain paragraph that a lot of individuals typically overlook, and he does insinuate that it means that the PIF is ready and willing to sell. So I want to talk about what that means and if there's any validity to anything he's talking about. So I'm going to go over all of that. Before I get into that though, making sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe is always greatly appreciated. With that said though, let's get right to it. So even on Twitter, he did say that he did watch 2 videos of that $18 billion shelf offering, one of which was mine, the second one was Lucid Daily. He does bring up about this second paragraph, which in the actual prospectus, it's right here. So in here, it talks on selling security holders and their ability to sell up to 1.1 billion shares. So that's pretty significant. Obviously, the first one and only one that comes to mind is the PIF. So clearly he's insinuating that it's the PIF that is wanting to potentially sell in the future. But there's a little bit more of a flawed system there because the PIF does not need any approval. If they want to sell tomorrow, if they want to sell 1 month from now, or 1 year from now, it does not make one difference at all. They do not need anyone's approval. But still, keeping all of that in mind, who is the selling security holders, what's listed in here? It's ultimately the PIF. A lot of the big insiders and pipe investors are still in there. Clearly, it's laid out right here. Again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I am not a financial advisor or anything, so do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But I'm just going to play Warren's video and then give you my thoughts on overall if it's accurate and my takeaway from that. So again, let's get right to it.
Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Lucid Motors has announced or filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission plans to sell a lot more stock to raise $8 billion for the company or to generate $8 billion in cash. It's not clear whether that's generating money for Lucid or it's some other purpose. Are you ready? Let's go. Now, for starters, a disclosure. Number one, I don't own any Lucid stock. I have no investment interest in Lucid Motors whatsoever. The other thing I would say is I've never seen something like this before. I'm giving you what I'm reading, my understanding of it. I've said something about this on Twitter. I got some criticism. I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm pretty sure how I'm going to break this down is going to come down the way I'm going to say, but it's possible that I don't know what I'm talking about. So this is the introduction to Lucid's plan, what they filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. You can see right down below my finger, you can see that their offering's up to $8 billion in aggregate offering price. So $8 billion, the company is currently valued at $27 billion, and there's $8 billion in transactions that may happen over the next 3 years. That's how it's laid out. Down at the middle here, you see this up to 1.19 billion shares of common stock. That's the big nut. There's a lot of other stuff here with, 44 million shares or whatever, but this number dwarfs everything else, the $1.19 billion or 1.189 billion shares of stock. That's the big nut. So in total, we're talking about maybe $1.2 billion in stock. I'm making up the number, but I think I'm in the ballpark. And if you take the $8 billion that they claim they're going to raise, or that's going to be sold over the course of 3 years, and you figure it's about 1.2 billion shares, that's less than $7 a share. Lucid stock is currently trading around $16 a share. And if I understand this correctly, and it's certainly an argument I don't, if you've got $8 billion in transactions with 1.2 billion shares and 1.2 billion shares in total, Lucid is saying they think their stock is worth less than $7 a share, even though it's currently trading at $16 a share. That's my take on it.
Okay, so a couple of takeaways immediately. He is correct, the fact that that is a little bit more of an abnormal paragraph. Again, that's outside of Lucid. Within Lucid, you can even see, I believe it was submitted on here, August the 20th, 2021. It does list this exact same thing as far as point number 5. So as far as selling security holders. So in general, though, it's a very common thing within Lucid. And why so? Is because Lucid has been, since the get-go, had a huge institutional presence. So I'm just going to show you this. This, again, is from the August 2021. And it does go over and list all of this massive amount of security holders. So it has a lot of insiders, as you can see. It's 2 pages as of right now. So clearly the variance from August 2021 to the present, a lot have actually sold out their position. But again, it is what it is. This is why we most likely did get the SEC lawsuit. A lot of PIPE investors got out and very upset, to be fully honest. But still, regardless of all of that, clearly this is all what they define as selling security holders. So when it comes down to it, that's a whole completely different beast. And how he's getting that $7 price target is completely just wrong math. You're just adding two random numbers and you're making a lot of assumptions. You're assuming that the PIF is just going to dump their whole load right now. In addition to, Lucid is also going to do their $8 billion offering right now. Makes zero sense if you ask me. And he's just basically calculating two random numbers. It doesn't make sense at the end. So I completely disagree with that, but he does also say in the video that he could be wrong, which in reality he is. But I want to show you as far as a plan of distribution and talk on basically what this potentially could mean for everyone in the grand scheme of things. But I personally feel having that actual paragraph within the prospectus isn't what it's actually intended for, or what a lot of people are assuming. The PIF, like I already said, similar to a lot of other institutions such as Franklin, they are listed as well. They can sell whenever they want. They don't need actual approval. But based on here, this is the actual selling security holders based on the most recent prospectus. So that $8 billion shelf offering, it has gone down quite a lot. We already know that, but still, a lot of which are actual insiders. When there is insiders that do either rotate out or whatever it is, they do have a lot of their shares locked in. And typically, depending on the actual fine print, they might potentially lose them. But regardless of all of that, though, we have seen that Lucid has swapped out their VPs quite frequently. So when there is a big actual problem within Lucid, they try and rectify it by moving around executive or laying people off, things like that, which is very beneficial in the grand scheme of things. You see that happen quite a lot with a lot of companies. But like I said, the PIF, Franklin, they can sell whenever they want. They don't necessarily need anyone's approval. This is where a lot of misinformation is. I personally feel that paragraph is intended for insiders. For instance, if Peter or Sherry or Eric decide to leave, then that gives them the opportunity to potentially count that as an offering, if you want to call it that. Because that way 21 million shares isn't actually directly put on the secondary market, which could potentially do a little bit more damage. And like I said, going back to the plan of distribution, it does say right here and several times that the securities may be offered to the public through underwriting syndicates represented by managing underwriters or by underwriters without a syndicate. So ultimately, it's just going to be an offering. So even if, for instance, Peter does leave Lucid, argument's sake, no FUD or anything like that, then that 21 million that he does show as having his shares, then potentially that's just, like I said, not going to go on the secondary market. It's not going to completely obliterate the stock price. It's going to be given as a issuance. So it's going to be counted also as potentially this 8 billion. So even hypothetically, that 8 billion is that umbrella. That is the end all be all. And I just want to quickly show you this because it does clearly lay it all out. And even Warren doesn't even bring this up because most likely it defeats its whole purpose. But it says the prospectus also relates to the offer and resell from time to time by the selling security holders named in the prospectus. So it is already included in this 8 billion. So like I said, 8 billion is that massive umbrella. That's the limit. And ultimately, even if the insiders potentially sell, they are going to count that towards that 8 billion. So again, I could be completely wrong. I'm not a financial advisor. Like I already said, this is only for entertainment purposes, and this is just how I interpret it. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal, like I even said in my video. And regardless of all of that, he did watch my video, so I got a view from him. Getting one of the biggest Tesla fanboys to actually watch a Lucid video is pretty cool. But still, regardless of all of that, though, I personally feel that it's not that big of a deal. And he is correct, like I already mentioned. It's a little bit more of an abnormal thing, but when it comes down to the huge amount of institutions that have always held Lucid, it's rightfully so and justifiable. So with all that, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. It's always greatly appreciated. Let me know your thoughts and your interpretation on this second paragraph as well. And if you are worried potentially of the PIF or even insider selling. So let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Is always greatly appreciated. And with that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.